Today, you will learn all of my go-to EQ mixing moves for making a vocal sound pro using only stock or free plugins. Yeah, I'm going to show you how to get rid of all the mud, harsh frequencies, and add that super smooth air to the top of your vocal. And as a bonus, I'll show you when you should be using a free de-esser to clean up any of those really harsh frequencies without it giving you a lisp. And to make everything even easier, I have an entire guide that you can go and download right now that contains all of these free plugins. Now, what I'm about to show you will work pretty much every single time, except if your vocal recording is really noisy or low quality. So before you get started and start recording, make sure that your room is quiet. Trust me, it's going to make this whole thing a lot better for you. All right, this song is by a band called Eden Rose. If you like what you hear, I have links to this in the description. So everything is mixed except the vocal. There we go. If we listen to it in solo,
Hop on in and turn the key, roll the windows down, and I don't care to go alone.
there is a little bit of like some woolliness or thickness to the vocal. We want to get rid of that. Okay, that's like the chesty sound. That will be very important later on when we're trying to get everything to fit into this mix. First thing, you're just going to load up a stock EQ plugin. This is one that comes with Cubase. Okay, I'm just going to enable the spectrum so we can see where the frequencies are.
There's no need to say goodbye. I don't want to make.
So it's the frequencies around 100 to 200 hertz. These are notoriously muddy. Let me show you. We're gonna let's put a low shelf on this, okay? And I'll just boost this up so you can hear what these frequencies do to the voice.
Hop on in and turn the key, roll the windows down, and I don't.
Now it's very rare that you'd want that much like chesty sound or that much bass in the voice. So the first thing we're gonna do is clean up the vocal a little bit by rolling off some of these low frequencies. Some people like to use a high pass filter. You can do that. I prefer the sound of a low shelf because some of those frequencies are actually really nice to have in the voice because it makes the vocal feel closer to the listener. When you're listening to the song, if you don't have any of those frequencies in the vocal, they can sometimes feel like the vocals push back in the mix or doesn't have any power.
Can I go alone? There's no need to say
It also can sound lo-fi, right? So this is too much.
goodbye. I don't want to make
Too
you
woolly.
cry. Dealing with mistakes, I'm a mess. I am still around.
Like right around here is where you're starting to get a good balance of the warmth, but it doesn't sound too chesty. This is really important to clean up the low end with some sort of shelf or a high pass filter. I tend to do this first. I like to shape and fix any major tonal problems with the voice first before it goes into any other plugins. Now there are some more low, mid, and mid-range areas that I usually will EQ out. Let me show you what I do for that. Now the two spots that I usually find buildups or it sounds boomy is around maybe 180 hertz to 200 hertz, and then also again around 600 hertz. And to fix those specific areas, I like to use a parametric EQ, and I usually use a sharper Q. I don't like using a really broad filter like this because that's going to tonally shape and change the sound of the vocal. I just want to clean up or fix those boomy spots. That's it. So probably a Q between 3 and 6 is probably great to use. But again, experiment, try broad ones, try narrow ones, see what works for you. Let me show you this boomy spot right around 200 hertz.
Hop on in and turn the key, roll the windows down. And
This.
I don't care to go alone.
That to me drives me crazy. Now you don't want to just take it all out. Okay, we want to leave some of it there. Again, it gives the voice a little bit of power. But if we can pull some of that out, it's going to add a lot of clarity and it's going to make the vocal sound a lot more modern.
There's no need to say goodbye. I don't want to make you cry. Dealing with mistakes, I'm a mess.
Okay, I'm actually going to broaden this out a little bit. So now I'm actually at a Q of 1.
Yes, I am still around. I will find a way to clear my mind.
Okay, right here is a really good spot. So I'm only taking 2 dB out, but that is really needed to make this vocal not get in the way of all the other instruments in this mix. And if you watched, what I'd like to do is go up and down so that my ears have a chance to really hear what the problem frequency is and then when I overdo it. So if you overshoot, undershoot, and you keep going back and forth, you'll find a sweet spot, and that's usually the best place. Now, if you just go and slowly turn this up, you're going to forget what it sounded like, and you're going to make a bad decision. Now, the next one is right around 600 hertz. For some reason, maybe 500 to 800. A lot of weird, really nasally, gross vocal sounds come out of that region.
Hop on in and turn the key, roll the windows down.
That is what I'm talking about.
And I don't care to go alone.
So in this case, it's right around 538 hertz. We'll use a little bit broader Q here, so something around 2.8. We'll see what this does.
There's no need to say goodbye. I don't want to make you cry.
Now I want to open this up a tiny bit more, so actually Q of like 1.3 is good.
Dealing with mistakes, I'm a mess. I am still around. I will find a way to clear my mind. Take this time.
So right here, we're doing 3 dB cut. That's it. You don't need to overthink it. Don't go crazy, and use that over-under technique, and you'll be able to figure out exactly how much to take out every time. All right, let me show you a really cool trick to add some top-end air to the vocal. Now, what I like to use is a Pultec style EQ for this. This is a free one from Kive Audio. Make this this bandwidth knob super broad is what I find usually works the best for me. And then choose a frequency between 10 and 16 here. And just turn this baby up, and there's just something magical about the shape of this EQ, and it's going to give your vocal a really nice top end. Okay, you're going to want to find the spot where it starts getting almost borderline harsh, okay? And then I'm going to teach you how to use a de-esser that's totally free to help pull that back a little bit. But that's going to give you that really modern top end that everybody is looking for like pop and hip-hop productions.
Hop on in and turn the key, roll the windows down, and I don't care to go alone.
So I'm going to push it too far, okay, to the point where it's kind of annoying sounding, right? It's almost too much. And then let's make our frequency selection here and see which one of these bands sounds the most musical.
There's no need to say goodbye. I don't want to make you cry.
So this 10 to me sounds really harsh. I don't like what it's doing there. 12 and 16 both sound pretty good.
Dealing with mistakes, I'm a mess. I am still.
I think I like 16 kilohertz the best. So let's just leave it there. And then I'm going to pull this back a little bit.
Still around. I will find a way to clear my mind. Take this time.
There you go. So again, I went way over, way under, and then found a sweet spot right around 3 or 4 dB. So right now the vocals are maybe a borderline harsh, okay? So we're gonna use this free de-esser by Techivation. This one is the de-esser Plus. I have this in that guide, so just download the guide and you'll have links to all these free plugins. And what I recommend doing is just clicking the different frequency ranges here and listening to the part that sounds the most harsh, okay? That's the range we wanna use for this de-esser. In order to hear what these ranges are, you have to click Filter, okay, in this audition window. So I think the high end is probably the most harsh. So let's just have that selected, okay? Now we're gonna take this filter off, just this threshold, so that on the brightest, sharpest, loudest parts of this vocal, it's just gonna grab it and lower it down, that annoying frequency range. Let's try it out.
Turn the key, roll the windows down, and I don't care to go alone.
If you bite into it too much, you can hear that it does this weird pumping thing to the vocal, right?
And I don't care to go alone.
Okay, we don't want that. So let's dial this back a little bit, and let's change the intensity. We'll make the intensity a little bit higher.
I don't wanna make you cry, dealing with mistakes. I'm a mess. I am still around.
To me, when the sharpness knob is turned farther to the right, it sounds a little bit more natural. So I'm going to leave it at whatever this is, 3.3. Without this de-esser, this is what it sounds like.
There's no need to say goodbye. I don't wanna make you cry, dealing with mistakes. I'm a mess. I am still around.
And so we'll use that because it gives it a little bit more natural sound and really takes the harshness out of the vocal. Okay, my next trick for you. We're going to take an EQ, back to the EQ. And we're going to surgically remove some of those really sharp, annoying frequencies that are... Oh, watch out for that. So we're going to take an EQ and then surgically remove some of those really annoying frequencies that are still in that vocal that we can hear that the de-esser's not getting rid of. And we can do that using really sharp or narrow EQ filters, okay? So just open up whatever standard EQ you have. You want a parametric EQ. So we'll just grab one of these and I'm going to make a nice narrow peak, okay? We want it narrow because we don't want to change the tonality of the vocal. We just want to get rid of the most annoying, sharp, terrible ice pick frequencies that are in this vocal. In my experience, it's usually around 2K and 4K and sometimes up near 10 or 8K, depending on the genre. So let's go hunting around there, find the worst spot, and then we'll pull some of those frequencies out.
Behind clouds above, what am I thinking of?
It's this.
Gone a while, guess I'll move on.
I hate that frequency so much.
Moving on.
So I'm pulling it out like 10 dB because I hate it. It feels like someone's just like smacking me between my eyes, like when I listen to the vocal. Okay, let's get that other one. That's at 4K. Here we go. Ooh.
Moving on.
There it is. Where is it? 4.5K. Okay. So let's clean that up. Let's get rid of some of those.
Now move on. Moving on.
So that sounded good to me. That's about 5 or 6 dB. Now, what this does is it makes the vocal smoother. Now we can add some presence back. But before that, let me show you how much these two EQ moves has de-harshed this vocal. Check this out.
Thinking of
Without it.
gone a while, guess I'll move on. Gone a while, guess I'll move on. Clouds above, what am I?
It helps so much. And for my final EQ tip is let's bring back some presence so that the voice is easily heard and understood on smaller speakers. Okay, smaller speakers typically have a limited bandwidth, meaning they only really reproduce the middle of the sonic spectrum. If you have like a big stereo or something like that, that's going to be a full range speaker. I'm talking smaller little speakers that might be in your car or on your cell phone, things like that, okay? So we want to focus in on the mid range between like 1K and 5K, somewhere around there. Now, we made these cuts, which could impact the clarity of the vocal, but it also helps to smooth the vocal out, okay? So to balance everything out, what we can do is we'll grab another one of these EQ nodes and we'll put it back to a peak filter like this. And what I love to do is let's make it really broad, okay? Like 0.5 Q, okay? Something really, really broad. And I'll put it right in between these two frequencies, okay? Where we took those two cuts. And then I'll just do a slight boost like that, okay? What this does is it raises up the clarity and the presence of the voice in this range without it ever really sounding harsh, okay? When you have these really broad EQ moves like this, it doesn't make anything sound too sharp, okay? It just is changing like the tonality of the vocal in a very musical way. Check this out.
Clouds above, what am I thinking of? Gone a while, guess I'll move on. Moving on.
And I actually think I like it probably a little bit lower than right in between those two, right around 2.5K. So now I'm doing 3 dB. If it still sounds kind of harsh to you, you can always dial this back, but you should make these final adjustments in the context of the song. So let's go back. I'm going to play the song and I'll make these last few adjustments.
Hop on in and turn the key, roll the windows down, and I don't care to go alone. There's no need to say goodbye.
With everything playing, this seemed to be the smoothest region that helped really highlight the articulation of the vocal, and that was at 2.8K, so a little bit higher than what I had thought in solo. But that's the importance of playing everything in context. Now, which one of these EQ tricks did you think was the most helpful? Were there any that I missed that you do all the time for your vocals? Let me know in the comments below. Just a quick recap of this video. Remember, it's super important to do the best job possible when recording a vocal. Just invest in a microphone that was designed to be used for vocals. It doesn't have to be really expensive. That's going to get you in the ballpark and set up a really strong foundation for you. Now, secondly, make sure that you're recording in a quiet space. Right? We don't want a lot of noise. We don't want noise from air conditioner. We don't want noise from people running around on the floor above you or whatever. So just pick a time when it's quiet to record your vocals. Now, in terms of EQing, take a shelf EQ or a high pass filter and roll off those really subby frequencies that really shouldn't be in a vocal in the first place. It's going to really help tighten up your vocal. The next thing I like to do is, again, take another EQ and then carve out those weird, muddy, chesty frequencies that are typically found between 200 hertz and 600 hertz. Make sure you use that over-under process that I showed so you know the right amount to remove. Then to add some modern top-end air to your vocal, you can use a free Pultec style EQ. They have great EQ curves that just add this nice airiness to a vocal. One that I use in this video is by Kive Audio, so go and check that out in that downloadable guide that I have. I also showed you how to use a free de-esser plugin to take out some of the sibilant sounds out of a vocal after we boost up the air so it doesn't sound too harsh. I showed you how to use an EQ again after that to surgically remove the harshest, most annoying frequencies in the vocal, and those typically are around 2K and 4K. And don't be afraid to play with that Q value to really dial in the right amount of frequencies to remove. And finally, to bring back some articulation and clarity to the vocal, we're going to do a really wide boost near where we remove those really harsh frequencies, and that's going to help kind of bridge that gap of those frequencies we removed without making it sound harsh. Okay, and it's also really important to do that boost in the context of the song. And I promise you, those tricks are going to work every single time you have a vocal. And those are my top EQ mixing tricks that are going to make your vocals sound pro. Don't forget about that free downloadable guide in the description before you leave. My name is Bobby Balo. I'm the mixing and mastering engineer at Rayton Productions, and I hope to see you in another video.